Hey Fae folk, welcome back. So for today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my personal bottom 10 Monster High alumni dolls. So I'm always so bad with the timing because I'm filming on a different day than I post videos, so then I get confused about when I filmed versus when a video went up. But within the last couple of weeks, I did the opposite video of this where I talked about my personal top 10 alumni dolls, like my absolute favorite ones. But now I need to be a little bit more critical of Monster High, and I need to tell you which dolls I just personally didn't really like that much. So just to clarify, in case you didn't see my top 10 video for the alumni dolls, my qualifications for alumni dolls are specifically characters that either have already existed within the canon of Monster High or are intended to exist within the canon of Monster High in the G1 style. So no G3 dolls are going to be included in this list, and I'm not including Skeletor dolls or collabs with other IPs like the Wednesday dolls, just because those do feel like a slightly separate thing for me. So we're just taking a look at the purest of the pure Monster High dolls in the Gen 1 style. And yeah, we're going to be talking about the ones that I don't like today. I already know some of these are going to be really, really hot takes. So I always give the disclaimer that I'm just giving you my opinion and you're obviously free to disagree, but just real heavy on that one today, real heavy on the disclaimer. It totally is fine if you disagree with my opinions. Just please don't be offended if we don't think the same way, because they're dolls, everyone has different thoughts, and that's totally chill. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the list. So obviously we are going to be going from the bottom up, looking at the least awful doll on my list, and then working our way up to my personal least favorite. So coming in 10th place is going to be the Mummy Majesty's Cleo. We are specifically taking a look at Cleo and not Nefer here, at least, spoiler alert, for now. I mean, I don't think this was a good pack in general. Looking at Cleo, the reason she's at number 10 is because I do think there are pieces of hers that are very, very salvageable. I actually think the base doll is really solid. I love this asymmetrical bob that she's got going on. I think that looks really, really nice on Cleo. I also do like her headdress. I think that's cool. I feel like, I don't know, most of the time when I think of headpieces, a lot of the decorations in the front. So I like the fact that the snakes are in the back. It just feels a little bit different, a little fun. I think the wraps on her arm are solid. Her shoes are maybe nothing special to me personally, but definitely not bad. I will stand by what I've said before and also by what a lot of other people have said. And I do think the dress is not stellar. It is giving a little bit G2 with the print there, and the bag I think is horrific. But ultimately, while I do think this is not a good Cleo, I think she's better than the other entries we're going to have on this list, so she only barely made it on. Number 9 is one of my hot takes, and that is Symphony from the Off-White collab. I know so many people love this doll, and that's fine. If it brings you joy, that's super. I'm not trying to take that away from you. Just for me personally, not really a fan of this one. I did have a couple of the Off-White dolls in my top 10 list. It's not that I'm against the collab in total, although I do think it was very expensive. No, I have personal beef with Symphony. The reason she's not higher up on this list is because I do really like her outfit. I think that's fun. All the black, and then the pops of the vibrant green is super cool. And also, her face is so fun with the transparent skin and the skull underneath. That is so unique and so interesting, and I would love to see that on I mean, maybe they couldn't afford to do it on Playline. I'm not really sure with the budget there, but a different collector doll, I think it'd be cool to see on. But what kills it for me, and maybe this is petty, maybe this is me nitpicking, but I fucking hate it, is the painted on Widow's Peak. She obviously has rooted hair. Her rooted hairline is I don't want to say normal because everyone has a different hairline, and but normal for dolls, where it's just kind of an arch over her forehead. That's her hairline. And then she has a painted on Widow's Peak. Why? Why would you do that to this doll? It cannot have been that much more expensive to just root her in a Widow's Peak. Or if it somehow was that expensive, just don't do it. Just let her not have a Widow's Peak. I like the concept of a Widow's Peak. I'm not against it. I know there's a weird thing where some people think it's really ugly and awkward, and I'm not like that. I would have liked to have seen this be a rooted Widow's Peak, but if you weren't going to do that, don't paint it on. This looks so stupid, and it's just so frustrating to me because this doll costs so much money, and I would be mad about this on a Playline doll anyway, but to do this on a very expensive collector's doll, I think it's just insulting, and for me, it really truly does ruin the whole thing, especially because it's on her face. The face is one of the coolest parts of the doll, and you're just going to put this big black painted on triangle on it. Really? This one I genuinely have personal beef with. There are others that I obviously dislike more, but this one does get me a little heated, so she obviously had to be on the list. kind of starting to think I maybe should have put her higher because I feel a lot less strongly about this next one. But coming in at number 8 is going to be the Holiday Claudine Wolf doll. And I feel so bad for having to put her on here because I don't think she's a bad doll. I just think she's extremely bland. I feel like the Holiday line in general, especially the like wintry ones, I feel like just were weirdly butchered. Like they started out pretty strong with the Draculaura and then just didn't keep going with that same energy. Like this Claudine, it feels like she did not get the same level of care when it came to the design or the budget or anything. I do think she has a nice base doll. I think this color of purple hair is really pretty for her. I love the gold lip on her, but her dress is just so boring and basic and unexciting. So like, I think ultimately maybe I dislike her less than I dislike Symphony, but this one is sadder to me because I feel like it should be so easy to make Claudine look fabulous and fashionable and pretty for like a little winter gown moment. And somehow they still managed to fail to do that. Like it's not ugly, it's just violently unexciting. And it makes me feel bad because Claudine deserves better. So she's in 8th place. For 7th place, we are going back to the Mummy Majesties 2-pack, and now we are discussing Nephra, because I think Nephra, out of the two, is definitely worse than Cleo. I don't like the headpiece as much. I think that her necklace situation isn't necessarily the worst, but like, still isn't great. I like her bag less. I think her dress looks significantly more G2. Like, Cleo's already looked G2, but Nephra's looks so badly G2. Like Cleo's looks like one where it's like, okay, yeah, I can identify that as kind of a G2 pattern, a G2 dress, but depending on what else you put with it, could be salvageable, at least to me. Nephra's is just like the bad budget version of G2, in my opinion. I just think it looks much worse and also not like something that she would wear. It just doesn't read Nephra to me. I also think her makeup is kind of an odd choice. I don't know. Like, I am always one for a super bright, fun lip. I think it's a cool thing to do. I like, you know, kind of weirder makeup, so to speak, but it just doesn't feel like it fits with Nephra. I don't know. It doesn't feel like they designed this with her character in mind. It was kind of just like, here's this extra Egyptian stuff that we didn't put on a Cleo. Put it on a Nephra. That's kind of how it feels. And I just find the overall look of everything unappealing if I'm being nice. So she's on the list too. I'm nervous about number 6. I know I'm going to get so much shit for this like ranking. And I'm sorry in advance. Again, if you love this doll, you're welcome to love her. That's great. But it's the real drama Draculaura. I'm so sorry. Just in general, the real drama thing wasn't something that I got. Like, I don't know, in general, I'm not opposed to a black and white with a pop of color scheme. Like, it's not bad to me, but I just prefer the like full color versions of these characters. Maybe it's just because that's what I saw first, so that's what I'm like more drawn to, or it gives me more nostalgia because that's like how the dolls were originally produced. I don't know what it is, but the real drama release was just one where I easily skipped it. I was like, I don't even want to try for any of these dolls. I have no desire to own any of these dolls. However, most of them I do think look fine, especially the Laguna. I think she looks really cute. I like the kind of like tealy blue color that they picked for her. The Claudine looks good. Even the Frankie, as a certified Gen 1 Frankie hater, I can say is not the ugliest Frankie doll I've ever seen, but the Draculaura just looks kind of off to me. I don't know what it is. I truly can't pinpoint what seems so wrong because honestly, out of all of the color schemes, black, white, and pink feels like it should go together the most. Like that feels like a quintessential color scheme that I should be easily on board with. And it's not really different from Draculaura's normal color scheme. It's just that it's less pink and more black and white. But something about the specific shade of the grayscale that they've gone with her and like how they've executed it, it feels weird. Like it just, I don't know. I truly don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like the face against the skin tone because I feel like her gray skin is like maybe slightly darker in tone than her pink skin, so the contrast is different than what I'm used to seeing on a Draculaura. I couldn't tell you what it is. I just look at her and my brain is like, this isn't right. Like I don't feel that way like the Claudine. Again, I feel like, okay, yeah, that's Claudine, that's just her in black and white, or the Frankie, that's just Frankie in black and white. But something about the Draculaura feels off, and I think she is the ugliest real drama doll by far. And again, I'm sure that so many of y'all are like typing away being like, you're wrong for this reason. And that's great. That's fine. Again, you're allowed to like her. Me personally, I don't think this was a good one. Breaking into the top 5, which in this case is not such a great thing, is Fang Vote Rochelle, who to me was just a very disappointing doll along multiple lines of her production or multiple points at her production. When they did the like voting process, I don't remember exactly everything I voted for. I know not everything I voted for ended up being on the final doll, but the biggest thing to me, I made a whole video about this, I'm pretty sure. I didn't like that we didn't get to vote on the dress, which kind of feels like the main thing of the doll, and I wasn't really sold on it based on the concept art, so I knew I wasn't going to get her from the get-go. But then when we did start getting like photos of the actual dolls, it was just somehow even more disappointing. I feel like the headpiece that was chosen with the earrings looks very strange because the earrings, like her ears are on top of her head, not on the side of her head like a human. So the earrings kind of like blend in awkwardly to the headpiece, and it just feels busy and kind of like jumbled up on top of her head. I think that the dress personally looks worse when it comes to like the physical doll versus the drawing. The shoes, the colors, I think were like flip-flopped. And the biggest thing to me is that Rochelle, in my opinion, is meant to have like a very light pastel pink color tone, and so much of this doll is hot pink. And like, should that be a big deal? I don't know, maybe. We're talking about dolls. All of this is extremely inconsequential, realistically. But I just feel like it doesn't fit with Rochelle. It doesn't match the concept art. I feel like it doesn't match people's perception of what they would be getting from Rochelle. And I don't think that it looks good. I feel like even for a design that I inherently kind of am not a fan of, it would still look infinitely better if they just like desaturated that pink a little bit. So I don't know. I don't necessarily think, I mean, obviously she's not like the ugliest doll because she's not in first place, but I do think a lot of this too is just like the disappointment of expectation versus reality. It was not in Rochelle's favor, so she does unfortunately stand out of my mind as one of the not so great Monster High alumni dolls, so she's on today's list. For 4th place, we have the SDCC Voltageous Frankie. I think that was what she was called, was Voltageous? I don't even remember because that's how little I care about this doll. Okay, if y'all have seen my videos before, you know, and I even already mentioned it in this video, I do not like Gen 1 Frankie. So I feel like it can't be that shocking that one of her dolls made it onto this list. But this one in particular, I'm not a huge fan of. Again, it's like the black and white thing, which I don't think is terrible. It's not that it's inherently ugly. It's just not my favorite when it comes to the Monster High dolls. I do tend to like them when they have at least some color, whereas this Frankie is like completely black and white. I don't really like her jumpsuit or her jacket or really anything. The shoes are okay, I guess. But also, I'm not a fan of this trend that they've done with a couple of their dolls. Like they redid the SDCC Ghoulia. That one, at least to me, seemed like a marked improvement from the first one. I still don't get it. Like I still personally, I know people have different feelings on it and that's fine. I personally would rather see new and different dolls instead of just like retreading the same ground over and over and over again. But at least with Ghoulia, it was like, okay, yeah, this is a solid doll. Like I don't love that she was what was produced instead of something different, but at least she looks good. Whereas to me, this is just a really ultimately boring doll. I think that's the best way I can put it. That there's nothing about her that screams collector to me or screams super fancy to me or definitely screams worthy of being remade, other than the fact that I'm sure the first one is exorbitantly expensive on the secondhand market. But like, I don't know. I don't think there's a reason for this doll in particular to exist. So she's here in the video. Quick little editing note here. I don't know why in my head I was like, oh yeah, Monster High has already done a superhero Frankie in a black and white color scheme. Because I really was under that impression the entire time while filming, as you probably assumed by what I said. Not actually true. They had done a black and white SDCC Frankie that was just like the basic Frankie, and then there also had been a kind of like superhero themed Frankie doll, but they were not the same doll. So this is technically speaking, like this last doll that I talked about, the Voltageous Frankie, the first time we have gotten a like superhero black and white Frankie. So I was wrong, and I just wanted to say that. I'm willing to own up to that. However, I still think she's ugly. So like, I'm not changing my placement. I just needed to clarify that I was like wrong on a technicality there. Top three, we have Deuce from the Cleo and Deuce Valentine's Day 2-pack. We are ignoring Cleo. We're looking at Deuce here. I don't think that the design is necessarily ugly, except for those ass loafers. I don't know what they were doing with that. But even just in the stock photo, you can see how cheap this material is. Like, you can tell that it is not a high quality material. So while I don't inherently dislike the design, I do kind of actually like the idea of him having this green suit that isn't perfectly matched. Like, the patterns on his pants and on his jacket are different. And I actually think that creates a little bit of visual interest and is kind of a fun thing to do. But it just looks so crinkly. I can hear what this sounds like, and I don't like it. So it's just sad to me because, again, I hate the loafers. I think that was egregious. But mostly this is a quality issue on this one. I think his design isn't like the most exciting. Like, they also did, not going to be featured on this list today, the Claude and Draculaura Valentine's Day set. And I think that Claude was at least interesting. Like, he had a very distinctive style. It looked to be a little bit higher quality. Whereas this one is just like, okay, yeah, like, it's not necessarily ugly, but it looks low quality. And also, nothing about this really is screaming Deuce to me. I mean, maybe his pants are meant to be reminiscent of snake print, or like the swirls and like the way that the pattern curves on his jacket are supposed to be like snakes. But I don't know, it doesn't read Deuce to me. It doesn't read any particular style. It's just a suit that they slapped a few colors and patterns on. It's boring, it's uninspired, it looks low quality. I didn't love it. Second place, the dubious honor goes to Fang Vote Operetta, or no, not Fang Vote Operetta, Fang Club Operetta. Too many puns and too many names for me to keep straight. I think this was a really rough one. Again, I made a whole video about this. I just don't like it. That's like the short version, but no, genuinely, almost every single thing on the stall I could complain about. The only thing that I don't absolutely hate is like the base dress. I don't like the overskirt. I don't think that was necessary whatsoever, especially with the ugly record pattern on there. I just don't think that it works. The spiderweb and like music note pattern on her actual dress, I do think is fine. The shoes are inoffensive. I'll say that, I guess. But what kills me the most is the way that they like changed Operetta's face shape from being like operetta. It's kind of subtle, but it's definitely different. And they also changed her eye color, which is like, why? Like, you have this character that already exists, that people are familiar with, that people like enough for you to produce this stall, and you're going to inherently change some of the things about them that make them recognizably that character. Sure, that makes sense. I don't know. I think this one is aesthetically not pleasing. I think that they made weird changes that make her read less like operetta, and I really didn't like it. But we still aren't at the top pick yet, because there's one doll I hate even more. And that doll is, unfortunately, my precious Cleo. I'm so sad to have to do this, but her half of the Valentine's Day 2-pack with Deuce was inarguably the worst part. Like, I didn't like him, but honestly, like, as much as I was ripping into him, when you put him right next to Cleo, Deuce looks like a model. He looks impeccable. He looks like he's wearing designer clothing, because she looks like she is wearing something that she borrowed from a 3-year-old. It's heinous. It's awful. I just... making myself look at this image is like difficult to do. I can't stand this doll. I don't even remember if it was last year or the year before that it came out, but I ranked this as the worst doll of the year for whatever year she came out, because it just makes me that upset. Part of it is that I love Cleo. I really love her dolls. Like, typically speaking, I like her design elements, and I feel like she has really like fun aesthetics. And they ruined it. Once again, very much like the Mummy Majesty's one, I do like the base doll. I especially like she got asymmetrical bangs, which you can't see as well in this image. But like, that looked really cool. That was a fun look for Cleo. That was an absolute vibe. But the dress is genuinely inexcusable to me. Like, I'm not joking when I say it looks like she borrowed this from a toddler. I really feel like probably a dress with this pattern has been made for like a Monster High costume for a kid. It's so ugly. It's just so bad. These skullets all over her dress is crazy. Like, I understand that's the mascot of Monster High. Maybe you want to sneak one in there and like have like a little tidbit, but just the huge skullets all Over. You cannot tell me that fashionista Cleo would ever be caught dead wearing this dress. It's foul. It's not creative. It's literally just here's some skelettes, have fun. Like there's nothing good about it. I'm getting heated, but I hate this doll so much. It upsets me that she exists. It upsets me that this is what was done to Cleo because she would never ever be caught dead wearing something this hideous, especially for Valentine's Day. Absolutely not. Like, I would have been less incensed if they were like, haha, the concept of the set is that someone pranked Cleo and she went out on a date with Deuce and like someone magicked her dress into looking like this. And that's why she's wearing something so heinous, because at least there would be an explanation. But no, I'm just supposed to believe that she was like, oh, I'm going on a date with Deuce for Valentine's Day. This is what I want to wear. No, this is bad. That's kind of it. I feel like I should stop before I get really nasty. I think this is a bad doll, and she sticks out in my mind as a bad doll even after all this time. So yeah, there was no way she wasn't going to be number one. But that is it, guys. I have finished ranting for today. Had to rein myself in a little bit there. I started getting a little intense at the end, but we made it through. As I said in the beginning, definitely let me know your thoughts on these dolls. Do you also hate them? Do you think I'm violently wrong? I know there's a couple that like y'all are probably going to think I'm violently wrong on, and that's okay, but like also, I have to be right about some of them, right? I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. Regardless of whether you agreed with my opinions or not, I hope you were able to enjoy them. I hope, you could get a little laugh even if you didn't quite agree with them. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for today. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, your night, or whatever it might be, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.